This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody? It's episode 82 of Beers in the Lot. A little bit of a different episode this week. We're welcoming back Eric after a health scare. So he's going to give us the story and an important message as well. So here we go. Let's get to it. Man, it's nice to hear 4 cracks again.
Absolutely.
Aaron, what are you drinking?
I have. Straight from Belgium. Imported. A Hoegaarden wheat beer. Everybody knows these. They're good. They're delicious.
Yeah.
Got the coriander and the orange peel going.
You have an orange peel in your your beer?
I'm told that that's how they serve them in Germany.
I was just curious.
What are you drinking tonight, John?
I'm drinking, I've had it before, I believe, Clyde Mays straight bourbon whiskey, 92 proof. So, it's a little nice, light evening nightcap. Nothing too crazy. Daniel, what are you drinking?
So tonight, actually, I didn't even really prepare for this, but I'm drinking a Florida Man Double India Pale Ale by Cigar City Brewing. And the Penguins are playing Florida, so
perfect.
Very fitting. I wasn't even going for that. You know.
The Florida Men, they're playing them.
They're playing the Florida Men.
I've waited too long to say this. Riggs, what are you drinking tonight?
Hell yeah. Yes. I too have an imported beer. It has a maple leaf on the can. It is known as Labatt's Blue Light.
Yes.
You're
allowed to drink that now.
Fine Canadian Pilsner.
Nice.
Yes. Good to be back.
Missed you, big guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss doing this every week. So thank you for keeping it going and keeping something here for me to come back to. So that's good.
Oh yeah. Of course. Did you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on? You have a message for us too, I assume.
Yeah. So the whole point of this is basically like keep up with your doctor's visits and your checkups, because that stuff is very important. You don't want things to get to a place where you have an emergent situation. And so, I kind of fell ill after some short travel, weekend travel for my son's hockey team, which I help coach with, and, we're involved with the club and all that stuff. And it was just, an hour and a half up the road, but, weekend travel nonetheless, eating out and all that kind of stuff. So coming home, kind of had like a sore throat cough thing. In this day and age, you assume it's COVID, so you go get tested negative, probably at this point, a total of like 4 times. And then like a lot of the sore throat cough stuff kind of subsided, and I got like really bad acid reflux to the point where it was keeping me up all night. I wasn't sleeping. I actually got medication for that, and it kind of went away and I could sleep at night, but during the day, I was just super exhausted. I couldn't hardly walk around the house, walk from the living room to the kitchen. I could basically get up in the morning, walk down the stairs to my big recliner in the living room, crash there for, 8 to 10 hours, and then I could barely get back up the stairs to go to bed at night.
I was gonna say we kind of started figuring something was going on because you were pretty active in our group thread, and
Yeah,
we didn't see you participating. And we're like,
yeah,
you okay, bud?
I literally like didn't have the energy to pick up, computers or phones or iPads or any of that kind of stuff to like log on to anything. That's how low my energy level was, and that went on for maybe a week, another week, and then my wife was like, okay, we're gonna go in the hospital. Like I saw my doctor, and we treated the acid reflux and tried to get myself comfortable enough that I could get like good sleep, which actually I was starting to get good sleep. I just had no energy during the day then. And so it was like progressively getting worse too. And so my wife was like, okay, we're going to go to the emergency room and have you looked at, instead of trying to do the normal, blood work stuff that's going to take time to come back and all that kind of thing. Let's go there because everything's there and they're going to do things faster. And something could really be wrong. And then it turned out that something was really wrong. I was basically had a critically low, like lethally low sodium level in my blood. To the point where the ER doc was like, how did you walk in here and how am I having a conversation with you? The numbers that you're showing, you should be unconscious and comatose right now. It was absolutely something that could kill a person. And so, they admitted me. I was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, I think. And basically they had to get the sodium level back up. While they were doing that, and that takes time. Like if you do that too fast, you can absolutely do that in like a day. But if you do that, you can cause problems with your brain. With the extra sodium, you retain more fluid, and it can cause hemorrhaging and swelling in the brain, and like that wouldn't be good. So
not good.
Nope, not good.
So it takes a few days, and it has to be monitored with regular blood work. So I was getting woken up at anywhere between 3 and 5 a.m. by the phlebotomist, which was great. But what's funny is like I used to like be really bad about that stuff. Like I would get, I'd get real faint and like almost pass out and everything when I'd have to go do blood work. And then, when you're getting sucked so many times a day and then every day as your wake up call, like it kind of goes away. Now it's like nothing. So while they were working on the sodium issue and trying to basically save my life, they were also looking at other chemistry, in the blood work, and they found out that I actually have an adrenal insufficiency, better known as Addison's disease, which is somewhat rare in humans, actually more common in dogs, believe it or not. But basically, I don't produce enough natural cortisol, which probably explains why I never really get or got stressed out in really stressful situations because I didn't have the hormones to do that. Especially like at work, I've always been known as being very like even keel in like really stressful situations, like layoff times and like all that kind of stuff. I never would get excited, and it's probably because I just didn't have chemistry too. But it also like naturally like the body produces the cortisol to kind of like wake you up in the morning, help you keep energy through the day, like all that kind of stuff. And it also helps regulate sodium, potassium, these things that could cause major problems in your chemistry, and then with your heart and everything. So once they kind of figured that out, then I went on a hydrocortisone regimen, which I'll have to be on for the foreseeable future because I produce it. So I don't produce the cortisol, so I have to replace it somehow. With the hydrocortisone daily now, what I say is I have the chemistry now to match my motivation level. Like mentally, I've always been like a highly motivated individual. And if I had external motivations, I could like rise to tasks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would never just do it on my own. Now I'm just doing stuff on my own. Like when I was a kid, I used to read books every night, and I stopped doing that. And I just attributed it to getting older and, that kind of thing. Now I'm like, I need to read at night. Like I'm going back to those type of activities. I'm writing independently again. I have some plans with that. And I'm doing a lot more work actually on the pod, trying to do some things for us. So I think now I'm better than I ever have been, since this has probably been going on for a long time. And so again, go to your doctors like regularly, even when you're not feeling bad. If it's the annual checkup, get it on the books. When they hand you the orders to go get your labs done, get them done. Our audience is primarily male. We do have some strong fans that are women out there, and that's great. And they're generally better at keeping up with their doc visits and all that kind of stuff. Men are generally terrible at this. So,
Terrible.
Right?
Yep.
And so
terrible.
So my message now is like, take care of yourself. When those regular visits come up, go to them, take them seriously. Don't just look for easy answers or the answer that you want, which is going to make the encounter shorter for you with that clinician. This is what we do as guys, just, and when they hand you the orders for your blood work in your labs, take it seriously, get it done. If your providers have portals that you can access, become familiar with them, look at the results. I know the scientific terminology is complicated, but simple things like sodium and potassium, these type of numbers, it's very simple numbers, very easy to see what's in range and not, and you can ask questions. So
yeah, that's the key, I think, is not only doing the orders, like the lab work orders and that sort of thing, but also doing your best to understand them and knowing what you're looking at when you see your own health basically presented for you in statistic form, because it really can tell you a lot. And
just ask questions.
It's a good idea to understand and ask questions.
One of the things that I learned was you have to find out who your helpers are. So that could be somebody that's a doctor. It could be a nurse that you're working with in whatever facility that, you're going to. It could be, close friends that are helping you through a tough time. It could be family that does the same thing. Find those people, right? And then be very open about what situations are and what your concerns are, and ask questions and find your helpers. That's one thing that I learned. I mean, I always knew it was there. I'm not saying that I neglected it per se, but like any typical American male, if I felt fine, I was fine. Right. Until I wasn't. So
that's the other thing too, is to it's a typical American male thing to somewhat disregard or to maybe take for granted the advice that your close friends and family are giving to you.
Yeah.
It's almost like the closer they are to you, the less you take their advice for some reason. I have no clue what this phenomenon is called, but it is absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like if your mom tells you need to go get something looked at or whatever, you're like, yeah, whatever, mom.
Yeah.
But then if you ran into a doctor on the street who told you to do this,
Right.
then you would you take it seriously immediately. I don't know what that's called, and it's awful. It's terrible. Why do we do this?
It's just it's something ingrained in American male culture.
Yep.
I think, and it's the way that, especially like the older generations, not the generations that are coming up now, I think they're a little more in tune with what they should be doing. I think for like my generation, maybe you guys, because you guys are a little bit younger than me.
I'm like 2 years younger than you.
Right. Well, you're the other elder statesman of the pod. The other two are younger.
Fair enough.
But I think, it's the way, I'm not blaming parents and teachers and stuff, but it's just the way that we were educated and brought up, and it was thought to be the right way, right? And that's, that it is what it is, and it's also the way that you interact with friends and like all these other things,
right?
Because you don't. I think there's like a tendency to want to put out like that strong image, the strong man, like whatever. But you know what? Like, it doesn't really matter, because something that you don't even know is going on could end your life like tomorrow. So, I mean, that the Team Maryland coach down the road that just passed away, by all accounts was in very good health and spirit, and he suddenly passes away. So you don't know when, and even if you're doing all the right things, you don't know when, but at least your chances are better. So again, like, do your due diligence, follow up with your docs, go to the regular visits and checkups, get your labs done, take them seriously, take your visits with those clinicians seriously, and don't look for easy answers to just end the conversation.
I know is the young buck on the podcast with the most gray hair somehow. I know you guys knew over the summer, like, I just had some weird health incidences due to my thyroid, where I was then on medication and I had a insane allergic reaction, which then got compounded when I went to the hospital because they stuck me 3 times to try and get an IV in, and it caused a vasovagal response, which for all of you non-medical people, that's when your body literally just feels that it's under attack. So your natural fight or flight tells you just to pass the hell out.
Daniel knows
great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what happened. And I had hives for a few times and everything was dumb, but it all started because I just wasn't myself for like a span of like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, it was very lethargic, felt like total dog crap. And my girlfriend just said, "You should really go to the doctor. I know you think they're just like shamans and they rub bones together and throw them on the ground."
Oh God.
And I'm saying that because that's what I told her I think doctors do. I just, similar to like what Eric said, where like, I'm like, oh, well, I get up every morning, I do this and that, I can move around, like, I'm fine. I don't have a bone like sticking out, like, and actually since then, I've done some of the telehealth visits just as a follow-up, just to make sure I'm still doing my stuff. I'm not 100% like, oh yeah, I'll go back, but I'm doing my telehealth visits in the coming months. That'll be a year. I'll get my blood work redone and whatnot. But like, it is important to kind of, we're not young pups. We're in our 30s. Unfortunately, some of us are in our 30s. Somebody's over that threshold, but it starts to break down. What was the line you said, Eric? Like, before 30, everything is given after
so
that.
my primary doc, when I went to see him when I had first started feeling bad, he goes, you're 42, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, so everything before 40 is free. Everything after 40 comes with a cost.
That makes sense.
I was like,
it makes total sense.
You're right. You really have to start like locking down on, your personal accountability to your own health. And not saying that you ignore it before you're 40, obviously right. Take care of yourself, before and after. But definitely as you get older, you don't recover.
You got to pay more attention.
You don't recover as fast from things. You get hurt more easily. The way that you eat and you drink affects things more than it did when you were younger, So it's all this kind of stuff that you just have to, just monitor it and just make sure that you're in a good place.
I know for a fact, besides just starting the podcast, since we talked obviously prior to COVID, I do think, due to the podcast and the fact when COVID kind of struck, we kind of like banded together a little bit, like, hey, everybody good. We kind of did that. The one thing we all kind of did was we're like, hey, we should all probably start doing more shit for our own health and wellness in general. Yeah. Like eat a little better, not pound as many beers, lay back on some of the party packs, all that stuff. Like, and none of us were to the point where we were like completely total out of shape, can't do anything physical, but it's also like it's a mental thing too, Eric. Yeah. Like you kind of touched on a little bit. Like you'd be amazed if you ate clean for like 5 days, what you feel like on Saturday. Like you feel like you could run a marathon if you were so inclined.
Yeah. So
but like just that clean living.
I have two sort of stories related to that and then related to what I just went through. So, I mentioned like with the adrenal thing, like I didn't have the chemistry to like match, what my motivations were. Like I've always wanted to, work out a lot and just be in generally good shape and, eat the right things and then be very productive, with my time, like don't just sit around and watch TV and like shit like that. But I physically couldn't do it. Right. But, going back to when COVID first started, I've always been a person that if I had external motivators, I could like get really big things done. So when COVID hit and, we're kind of in this like lockdown state, everything's closed, we're not going anywhere. I had already been working from home since August 2019. So I was already used to that. And so, not going anywhere didn't really affect me that much, other than I had no excuse then to do things around the house, up to and including like working out 6 days a week, because I had to move. Like you can't just sit in the house for months on end. So,
right.
I was really good about that until things started opening back up and we started skating again and like all that. And then it fell off.
Routine change.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that, we're in this, COVID time, lockdown, all this stuff. I didn't have that external stuff coming anymore. For all intents and purposes, when COVID was not a problem, it wasn't a thing, right? Everything was open. We could go to restaurants. We were skating again, like all that stuff. So I didn't have that external motivator to kind of like keep me going. Then with like the eating thing, I've always been a person that has been characterized as like a chronic introvert, right? Like I would never like just strike up conversation with strangers. So this past weekend, now having the right chemistry, I was in line at the grocery store and the guy behind me was like, he's watching us put all the stuff up on the thing. And he's like, wow, you guys eat really, really clean, like really healthy. And I was like, yeah, man, like, I try, had a health scare now. So I'm trying to do some other things with how I eat. And he's like, oh, what happened? I was like, well, I just got out of the hospital like 3 or 4 days ago. And then he's asking questions and I've tried to answer. And then he was asking like specific questions then, because he had some stuff going on that was similar to what I was talking about. And by the time we had paid and we left, he was convinced to get in touch with his doctor and start the process to start trying to figure out what was going on. And
I bet you that lots and lots of people will probably feel that call.
Right.
I don't know. It seems like anybody that you were to talk to about this will probably have something that they're like, I've got something I probably need to get looked at, need to get checked out.
Exactly.
And I sure hope that this does motivate some people to do that.
Exactly.
Because your health is, I'm gonna tie this back into hockey a little bit, but your health is so key, and it's really not like you were saying before. It's like, oh yeah, when you get older, it's more important. It's arguably just as important to your whole lifespan, because, I mean, sure, when you're younger, you're a little bit more resilient, of course, but you never know when it's something that you're not going to beat on your own.
Right.
And when it's something like that, you need help. You need somebody that can help see you through that.
Right.
So this is 100% a thing that anybody should be doing, but in particular, trying to draw it back into hockey. I mean, this is how you are able to skate for your entire life. If you're able to maintain your health to the point where you can keep playing forever. We play with guys in our league who are
60 couple,
how old?
60 couple years
70
old.
something. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And still a good player. Like
still good.
Yeah. Like
still quite spry.
Still one of the top half players. Like
absolutely. and you look at a guy like Jágr. I mean, I was telling my wife about this just recently, because I saw that Jágr is doing something with the HC Kladno to do a benefit for Ukraine. But he's 50.
Yeah.
He's 50 and he is an owner winger for that club. Like, he plays.
He's the Czech Reg Dunlop.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because he's stayed on top of his health throughout his career and been an absolute freak.
That's right.
Actually, part of the thing with the health, the whole shtick though, right? With Jágr. So he has a little bit of a diet, but he's like a big sugar junkie. That's one reason he's a maniac of the work ethic. Like, while he's cranking the gym, because apparently for breakfast, he smashes muffins. That's like his number one all-time thing. He loves muffins, and he says, like, if he has a bad day, he cranks like 4 or 5 of those suckers. So that's one reason he's in the gym. But he does, for the most part, after that, he does admit, he's like, yeah, I'm pretty consistent, but he's like, for breakfast, I have a muffin problem.
But I'll take it back to like what I just went through the last month or so. Like, today, this afternoon was the first time I touched the ice in over a month. And it's because I was sick. I could barely walk around the house. How am I going to go skate? I couldn't play. I couldn't coach. I couldn't do any of that. So, and
it's the worst thing ever.
Right.
I speaking from experience, having broken my leg playing hockey.
Yeah.
You have to sit there for weeks, not being able to play. Your friends can play and you can't. It drives you absolutely nuts.
It drives you insane. And
especially when it's something like, oh, it's my health.
Right.
It's just like, it just drives you nuts. Yeah. Don't let it happen to you. Go see your doctor.
Exactly. Seriously. And I can't say it enough. And, like I said, now, like, I've changed a little bit because my chemistry is a little bit different now. So,
I was going to say, you're talking about how you're not really an introvert, but we were at Stick and Shoot today and you just started talking to the one guy. Shout out, Matt, if you're listening.
Yeah,
We told you about the pod.
Absolutely. Shout out Matthew. Moved up to Frederick and he's getting started playing up here. So that's awesome. But yeah, like I never in a million years would I have talked to him before because I didn't
Right.
have the chemistry to do it. So the experiences changed me, and then also I have way more energy for my motivation level. And I feel like I have to talk to people, and I have to, tell the story and try to tell people, like, if you can help yourself out by, going and getting that nagging thing checked, or just going to the regular visit, like, please do that, because it could very well reveal something that could save your life one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I went and got checked for something within the past year. It was kind of scary, and
Yeah.
it was I just didn't feel good about it, and I went and got it checked. It turned out to be nothing, thank God. But yeah, it can be scary, but I think finding it before it can get really scary is definitely one of the biggest benefits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not something to mess around with, though.
No, not
really
at all.
isn't.
And
especially for somebody who eats a lot of Taco Bell like me.
Yeah.
Going back to our jokes from last episode.
But also, like, go have your Taco Bell, but don't have it every day.
Yeah.
Have it, have the bad stuff once or twice a week.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a bad day, smash some muffins.
Right.
But then make up for it in the gym.
Yes. Well, I don't know about all that. I think there's a point of no return there, but like, I just, balance.
Well, there you have it. Episode 82 of Beers in the Lot. Finished an 82-game season. Time for playoffs. But for real, this episode has a serious message, and we want to make sure that it's crystal clear. This health event was too close for comfort. For Eric, for us, for everybody who loves Eric. And the takeaway from it all is this. Don't neglect your health. And just as important, be proactive with your health. Don't let something that's nagging you stay in the back of your mind until it's too late. The game we all love requires you to be healthy in order to play it. Stay on top of your health, and you'll get more time on the ice. And you'll end up with more time with the ones that love you and that you love. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, see ya.